If you're like me, you balance out your yoga practice with some strengthening routine and some cardiovascular work, such as running and hiking. But that gets you tight in a different way. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to share some ideas of ways that I address the soreness from working out. My back is one of the first places that my body takes a hit. And so I begin by rolling out my back, particularly my low back area. After the low back, I move to the shoulder, and you'll see that I'm just taking my hand behind my head and moving my arm in and out so that I can really get the area. And you pause wherever you feel some discomfort. And then I drape over and just give my thoracic spine a nice stretch. And then we move to the legs, beginning with the sides of the leg along the IT band. Just roll from your hip crease all the way to just above your knee. And really take your time here. And when you find a spot that's a little bit more tender, pause there and breathe. Next, we'll move to the upper leg, the thigh and the front, getting the quadricep. And you just roll up and down. Again, pausing when you feel something. And to get a little bit deeper into it, you can flex your foot. To get your inner thigh, your adductors, is a little bit difficult to get. But basically, you roll along the inner thigh with the foam roller lengthwise. And when you find a spot, hang out there and play around with extending your leg and bending your leg while you're resting in the spot. And there's many other areas you can use the foam roller on. You can get it on your shin, you can get it on your calf muscle, you can get the outer hip, but these are just the ones that I thought I'd share with you today. Now we'll move to stretching. And as you can see, my back is usually the first place that I hit. So I'm doing some side stretches. So this shoulder stretch is a little better done with an elastic band, but you pull it apart and you might need a little longer than I have here with this towel. And you can kind of rotate around. It kind of hits your shoulders and your back at the same time. Go both directions. So low lunge is always a good one to stretch your groins and your upper thigh. And likewise, the runner stretch, or kind of like a half Hanuman, is another good one. And I like to play around with flexing my foot up towards my face and then planting it down. And then I usually follow with a high lunge and intensify it with my arms up. Of course, there's nothing like a quadricep stretch. So this one, I just reach back, grab for my heel, and pull it to my butt, and just hang out here. Let's get into the hips a little bit. And I start out high, testing it out before I lower down and hang out on one side before moving to the other side. And I'll hold on either side, and then I will go back and forth, trying to do it with some control and not using my hands. Now my hips are ready for a really deep, wide-legged forward fold. And here I go pretty wide, and I cradle my elbows in my hands and just hang out. And I just bend my knees and come down into Malasana. After I sit there for a little bit, I add a twist to each side. Nice gentle twist. So I'm going to continue stretching, but first a few squats. Just make sure that my legs and my core are activated. So I'm following up with some butterfly sit-ups. And so it's a little bit of core work, but it's also a nice stretch at the top of the movement as I reach way far over. And finally, I'll add some alternating toe touches, like a little V up. And if this is being incorporated into a workout, you obviously wouldn't need to add this here. I'll return to stretching some Badakanasana, first with my back flat, and then I'll follow with my back a little more rounded. And be sure you would get your calves stretched out. The soleus and the gastrocnemius. So bending our leg so that the heel of the foot is up into the hip crease of the other extended leg. Pigeon pose. And you start out here with the angle pretty closed. And gradually, as you open up a little bit more, you can open up that angle. And play around with being upright, and then you can bend over if that works for you. Of course, get the other side. And we'll go ahead and stack our legs, shin bones level with each other. Fire log or double pigeon pose. You can come forward a little bit. You can really feel this in the hips. And from here you can proceed to Gomukhasana with the feet outside the hips. This version I find is a little more friendly. You can just sit upright. You don't have to be as fussy or serious as I am here. And maybe even fold forward. We're returning to our back for a little hamstring stretch here. You can use a strap or a towel. And then this is like a half happy baby. I'm just working one leg at a time. So you can see I'm just using the weight of my arm. I'm not really muscling down. I'm just letting the arm hang. And then to stretch that outer hip, just reach your foot your leg in the opposite direction. And as you can see, there's a little supine twist action here as well. And with that hip already starting to stretch out, come into figure 4. And just intensify the stretch just a little bit more. Now, frog pose is not a pose that I do very often, but I do find that it's quite beneficial when I do take the time to go there. My legs are extended straight out. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, but be sure you're resting on your elbows and you're controlling the stretch because it's quite intense. And then take your time coming out. So go ahead and bring your arm across your front of your body. Kind of stretch out our shoulders a little bit. And then I reach it behind and I use the other arm to help encourage the movement. And to get it even farther, you grab the outer edge of that upper arm and just extend your arm long. You can follow that with some shoulder circles. Let's go ahead and deepen the stretch. So I'm going to cross my arms underneath my body. First I'm extending the arms out. And now I'm just going to walk my arms out and just lean into it and breathe here. It looks intense, but it actually feels quite nice. Let's not forget our wrists. They bear so much of our weight for chaturangas and holding our weight if you're doing pull-ups or anything else. So just a little bit of love for the wrists. You can move it in all different directions. And as with any of these stretches, just do what feels good. Don't go beyond. If you feel pain, stop doing it. And a good breath practice is a good way to end. And maybe even a shavasana, whatever calls for you.